Hello dear students, we finished the morphology portions, all the modules in morphology. Now we are moving on to the actual part of taxonomy. Plant systematics, its introduction. It includes naming, its nomenclature, then herbarium methods, botanical garden, and brief introduction regarding classification and Bentham and Hooker system of classification. So let us pass on to the introductory part. So you know what is taxonomy? It is actually the science of classifying organisms. The word taxonomy was first proposed by A.P. de Candolle, a famous French professor in plant taxonomy, and the meaning of the word, it coming from the word taxonomy. Okay, and it's originated from the Greek word taxis, meaning arrangements. The term systematics originate from Greek word systema, also applied to systematic classification developed by Carolus Linnaeus. And there are different types of definitions given to taxonomy. So actually it is the art of or science of classifying organisms, classifying, naming and arranging them. In order to study them in very easily, we need these organisms into classifying into definite groups, or then only we can study easily based on related characters. So that is the essential thing coming under taxonomy. And also it is very important to call a plant or an organism by its name, so it can easily understand. So that is also coming under taxonomy. Understood? So it involves a relationship between plants and their evolution. That is also very important. And also it deals with in plant taxonomy deals with the handling of plant specimens, and also it includes description, identification, classification and naming of plants. So when you got a plant, first you have to describe it in technical terms, then you have to identify it, you have to classify it, and you have to name it. So that is all, these all are coming under taxonomy. So this is very interesting field, and once we move on to a field, you will find out a large number of plants that are not familiar to us. So if you, such conditions you can depend on taxonomy. You can have some references, literature, floras, everything. You can refer them, you can describe them, identify them, and also you can get the name of the particular plant. These all aspects coming under taxonomy. Okay, so I hope you got what is there inside taxonomy. Clear? Okay. Now, just look at the history and system of classification of plants. So, the folk taxonomies, that is pre-literate mankind, means when man actually they are illiterate. In that time, very many million years back, that is known as folk taxonomy. So, the people only want to need to know what they are eating, what they have to avoid, what type of plants they are using to cure diseases, then what type of plants utilize for shelter. Likewise only for day-to-day life they need some knowledge regarding these plants. Okay, so that is the old age time. Then in the medieval period, Middle Ages, which is 5 to 15th century, there is also actual no such a progress in botanical investigation. So some work in Europe and Asia. Then it comes by the Theophrastus period, that is 372 BC to 287 BC. And Theophrastus is known as father of botany, and he is a Greek philosopher, and he wrote more than 200 manuscripts. And his book Enquiry to Plants is translated to English also. So he described about 500 of plants, different types of plants, and also fruits. And also he recognized superior ovary, inferior ovary, that now you know, we studied in morphology. Then there is another era, that is Islamic botany in 610 to 1100 AD. So that is revival of literacy, that period. Greek manuscripts were translated, and Ibul and Awan described 600 plants. You can see one picture here. This is the 15th century, taken in 15th century, an Arabic edition of Dioscorides. Dioscorides is a group of plants. You know, in your you can call it as in Malayalam the group Kachil group. So he described about 600 of plants. So this is just an outline of history. Not only this, there are so many taxonomists worked till in this 2020. Okay. Now, why we are studying plant taxonomy? That is, what are the objectives? Mainly to inventory of plant taxa or local, regional and our continental need. Then identification, nomenclature and description. Then classify them into classes, order, family, genera and species. And also to provide valuable information regarding medicinal uses. Then we have to assign them into endangered or unique or likewise. So, helpful in conservation also. Now, types of biological classification. So, first we have to study classification. So, in the taxonomy, very important part is what? Classification. So, there are three important types of classification. They are artificial, then natural and phylogenetic system. So, you have to study a brief account of all of these: artificial, natural and a phylogenetic system of classification. So, first one is artificial system. So, what are the differences between these three systems and what it includes, that you have to study. First, we can move on to artificial system. So, actually here one or two characters are taken into consideration. Okay, without considering any morphological details or phylogenetic relationship. I already told. So, evolutionary aspect is also very important in taxonomy. So, from where the plant originated, what are the primitive, means some characters that it is shown from its ancestors, what are the advanced characters, etc. should be considered in classification. But in artificial system, just one or two characters they are considering and classifying them. So, that is artificial system. Okay. And plants classify according to their own convenience, their convenient characters they are considering. One example is Linnaeus system. Carolus Linnaeus, considered as the father of plant taxonomy. Linnaeus sexual system is an example of artificial system. So, all classification before Linnaeus is artificial. Okay. Its merit is, it was the first attempt of classification. Okay. So, it has a place in the history of plant classification. That's all. Its demerit is what? Not considering all the characters. Okay. Closely related species are distinctly apart in the classification. If, for example, two species that are closely related kept apart, means they are not in the same group. That is a one demerit. Then evolutionary relationship is not considered in the artificial system. So, only this much required. So, what is artificial system? What is its merit, demerits? Example is Linnaeus system. Okay. So, this is Linnaeus, Carolus Linnaeus. His published book is Species Plantarum. It is very important book. The second system is natural system. It is based on several natural characters. Okay. Simplest organism placed first, while complex one later in the system. One example is classification proposed by George Bentham and J.D. Hooker in 1862 and 1883. So, this system you have to study in detail. Okay. Here many of the natural characters are considered. Okay. And several morphological characters taken into consideration in this system. So, this system, according to this system, plants are arranged in botanical gardens, herbaria, etc. Okay. So, that's all natural system. This is the George Bentham and Joseph Hooker. Their first published book is Genera Plantarum. So, Linnaeus it is Species Plantarum. Here it is Genera Plantarum. This system of classification after Linnaeus, this is after Linnaeus, but before Darwin. Okay. All the system before Darwin is considered as natural system. Merits is what? It is useful in identification and very easy for identification. One demerit is, very important demerit is Gymnosperms. You know what is Gymnosperm? Gymnosperms are naked seed bearing plants. Okay. So, they are coming before angiosperms. But here in this classification, they are placed in between dicots and monocots. Okay, so unrelated thing in between, that is a demerit. Okay, then some closely related species are placed distantly, far away. So that is a demerit of Bentham and Hooker system. But not only Bentham and Hooker, natural system of classification. So what is natural system? What are the features? What is the merits and demerits? Example is Bentham and Hooker system of classification. Clear? Okay. Now, third one is phylogenetic system. So this is the most widely accepted and advanced system based on the evolutionary sequence and genetic relationship. Okay, so largely accepted by modern biologists. So here they try to determine evolutionary relationship of plants and their groups. Okay, that is origin. They are considering the origin and the root of their evolution. That's considered here. Okay, so those which are evolutionary more related are together and those which are distantly related are kept separately. Okay, example is Eckler classification, Engler classification, Rendell and Hutchinson. They are all phylogenetic systems. Merit is what? It gives phylogenetic relationship and resulted development of experimental taxonomy and widely accepted by biologists. So that's all phylogenetic system. So first one natural, one or two characters considering, artificial, one or two characters considering Linnaeus system. Natural, more morphological characters are considered here. Example Bentham and Hooker. Most of the classification or arrangement is based on Bentham and Hooker. Then phylogeny, third one is what? Based on evolution relationship and genetic relationship. Highly advanced one, most acceptable one. Example is Engler and Prandtl classification, Eckler classification, Rendell and Hutchinson system. So this is Adolf Engler and this is Carl Prandtl. Both together, Engler and Prandtl system is Hutchinson. Okay. Then we have to know something regarding two types. One is Linnaeus system and another one is Bentham and Hooker. So what is Linnaeus system? Linnaeus system, Carolus Linnaeus published system of classified living things and developed a book. I already discussed it. That is what Systema Naturae. Systema Naturae in 1735 first. Then species Plantarum. So 18th century is his period. He grouped them into all group into three kingdoms. The kingdoms again divide into class. Okay, classes groups are divided into orders, family, genera and species. Kingdom, classes, order, family, genera and species. So it's important because binomial nomenclature is introduced by Linnaeus. Binomial nomenclature. So you have to study what is binomial nomenclature. So in order to communicate, we need a name. So naming is very important, scientific naming. So that naming is binomial according to Linnaeus. So what is Linnaeus scientific naming? Binomial system. The system contains two parts. One is the generic name and second one is the specific name. Okay. So while you are writing, for example, Mangifera indica. Mangifera is the generic name. Indica is the scientific name. Clear? So when you are writing, how you will write it? You have to write it Mangifera, M capital and all others specific name, everything small letters and you have to underline it. Clear? But when you are printing, you have to italicize the name. Okay. Then Linnaeus original system, kingdom divided into classes. So that's all about the first half, that is introduction regarding the classification. So from this part you have to study natural, artificial and phylogenetic classification, their merits, demerits and examples, and also binomial nomenclature. Clear? So I hope you understood well. Thank you.